Hello everybody. So today's tutorial is going to be on 8086 physical address calculations. Okay. So we know there are 20 address lines which are available in 8086. Okay, there are 20 different physical pins which are available outside the 8086 and on the 8086 chips. So you can place a 20-bit address on these pins. Okay, so externally we can connect 2 to the power of 20 comes out to be 1 megabyte. Okay, so 1 megabyte of memory cells can be connected. So each of these cells, memory cell can have 8 bit of data, because the data lines are different. There are D0 to although they are multiplex, but the data lines are only 16. So 2 to the power of 20, that is 1 megabyte of external memory can be connected to 8086, whereas the size of the data is going to be 16. It could be either 8 or no, each of these memory cells is going to be an 8 bit. Sorry, it's going to be 8 bit. If it is going to be 2 to the power of 20, will address 1 megabit of 8 bit memory. Whenever we require 16-bit data, then we will take 2 memory cells together. Okay, so each of these are going to be 8-bit. So once we see how they are physically connected in the hardware implementation, things will be clear. We will not get into details now. Okay, so this is how the memory is going to be. Now when we see the register size within 8086, it is only 16 bits, right, maximum. But using those 16 bits, we need to, but we can't put 16-bit address onto the address bus. We need all the 20 to address a particular memory cell. So we need to generate the 20-bit address also. Okay, so how do we do that? So what is done is, the memory is divided into various segments. Okay, and the address of those, the starting address of those segments are available in the 4 registers within the 8086, which is known as the code segment register, data segment, stack segment, and extra segment. So you have a 16-bit code segment and a starting address here. Okay, so from suppose it is 2000 here, hexadecimal. So 20,000 will be the starting address. If it is, say, data segment is 44,000 out here, hexadecimal I am speaking about. So 40,000 will be the starting address. So if it is 60,000 in the stack register, 60,000 will be the stack starting address, and if it is 8,000 out here, it will be 80,000 will be the extra segment starting address. So that will be just the starting address, and from there on, how would it move forward? Each address, that is the code segment, will work in conjunction with, if you see, the code segment works in conjunction with IP. So we know that formula. This is known as the IP gives the offset value. Okay, why do we call the offset value? It is offset from the starting, okay, point, and starting point is given by this segment register. So code segment, and then you have the offset. Offset is given by IP. So this 16 bits is given here, and then you shift it towards the left. 4 bits you leave it blank, and then you add this. Okay, in hexadecimal, shifting of 4 bits is nothing but multiplication by 10. So in hexadecimal, we just multiply it by 10 and add with the offset value to get the physical address. So this is done by the bus interface unit, BIU. Okay, whenever. So you have an code segment and you have an IP. Okay, so IP, we cannot access this IP, because initially we will give the address of the IP, and then when the program runs, it automatically IP will keep increasing. If it is we have seen that in our theory class, that each instruction will have either 2 bits or 3 bits, 4 bits, up to 6 bits. So accordingly, this IP will keep jumping. Once one instruction is completed, it will jump to the next instruction IP. Okay, so that jump would be 2 bit, 3 bit, depending on the instruction. Okay, it will, so this will keep pulling the instruction from the memory, and it will keep getting into the Q register which is there in 8086. So this automatically keeps increasing, whereas the data segment you can give the offset using BX, DI or SI, but these registers, they don't get incremented of its own. So as you write the program, if you want data in say consecutive memory locations, you need to keep changing the value of BX, DI or SI, whatever you are using. Okay, similarly, okay, now for the stack segment, this is used for push and pop instructions. For temporarily you want to push some data, you can push it using the stack pointer. This stack pointer also keeps, once you push the data, it will automatically increase the count in the stack pointer. So this also you don't have, it will keep doing of its own, and when you pull the data, it will keep decreasing it. So this is how the stack pointer. So this is how we calculate the physical address in 8086. Okay, now this is an example given. Here you have data code stack, and if you see the data, if it's starting from 000, so here it says it is the maximum value along with the offset, it takes 1 FFFF, right? But this need not be the case. Okay, theoretically we can say this is the maximum value, but this is not the case, because you can always write BX, say BX plus 50 or BX plus SI. So the offset can be more than 16-bit also, because I can write move AX BX plus 50 or right. Or I can write move BX plus 50 within square brackets and AL. That means I can write any value BX plus, I can write even a 16-bit data. So essentially this doesn't get restricted to 64 kilobyte, the data segment, whereas it's not possible in code, because in the code segment you cannot write IP plus 50 or something, whereas in data segment you can always write BX plus SI. So those kind of commands are supported. So once we learn about these commands in the next theory class, instruction set, we will come to know that move instruction, using the move instructions we can expand the there is by giving the extra offsets, we can expand the data bit beyond 64 KB, right? So whereas we can't do that, for stack it is SS, and extra segment also you can increase beyond 64. Okay, so now also it is not that all these segments are totally isolated. Okay, so here one example is given. So one segment gets over here, the other is starting from here. You can also have overlapped sections. So this is an these two segments, if you see, it is overlapped, slightly overlapped. This is fully overlapped. Okay, this is totally disjoint. So you can arrange anything like this, depending on what code you give. For example, the code segment, we generally don't have, we don't write so lengthy code of 64 kilobyte, right? Whereas the data could be very, very high. Suppose I am writing, okay, continuously monitor the temperature, and if the temperature keep take the average of 100 samples and give me an output. Okay, so the code could be very, very small, whereas the data could be very, very large. It continuously monitoring lot of data, right? So in that case, your code segment should be very small, and your data segment should be very large. Okay, so what we can do is, say we give code segment as 1000, right? And it can go up to 1 FFFF, right? That is the maximum value it can go, right? Data segment, in the data segment, suppose I give 1200, like 1200. So it will start at 1200. So before the end of code segment itself, the data can start, right? So we can, that is how we can overlap this. So you can restrict your code to the first 200 memory cells, and then from 1200 we can start off the data segment. Okay, so this overlap is possible. Generally the data segment overlaps the code segment. Is that clear to all of you? Has anybody got any doubt in this aspect? No? Okay. So it is possible that overlaps are permitted in 8086. Okay. Okay. Okay, and now this physical address calculation, and actually if you see in the binary, what we are doing is, if this is the segment address, we put 4 zeros out here. Okay, that is shifting it to the left and then adding the offset address. Whereas in hexadecimal, we just have to multiply it by 10 and then add it. Okay, so let's take some problems on this. The first one is the value of the code segment register is 4042. And the value of different offsets is given here. Okay, so can somebody tell me what would be the physical address? Anybody? Either you can switch on your mic or you can. Anybody, you can just say what could be the answer.
Also, is it 409A0?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, because we know the
CS.
code segment will work with IP. Okay,
Yes.
it can work with IP, right? So you multiply it by 10 and then you add the hexadecimal offset. Okay, now you just have to be careful in your exams that don't write 8 plus 2 10. Okay, here, right? It is hexadecimal addition, and if you are not careful, you will do these mistakes. Okay, it is 0. 8 plus 2 is A, right? We know that. Okay, and then you just have to be careful with the hexadecimal addition. Okay, so in a while you are under pressure in exam, you tend to do this mistake and make decimal addition. So be careful with that. Okay, so this is very going to be simple. Okay, now calculate the effective address for the following register. This is the stack register and the stack pointer, and BP is also there, right? Okay, now let me tell you one more thing. This is an this code segment and this IP. Okay, this is default combinations. Okay, but there is also a command for override of segment, default segment. You can make combinations without this default also, right? You can make CS combination with BX also. Okay, those kind of things are also possible, but you will have to write a command of override of the segment, and you have to specify which segment and which this, so that we will learn in the instruction register. Okay, I am just giving you a hint so that it remains in the back of your mind that there is something like that is also possible. It is 8086 is very flexible. You just have to tell it that okay, you don't take the default combination. Okay. So unless it is specified that it is not a segment override, so these combinations will work. Okay. Now coming to the effective address of stack pointer, this also default it would work with SP. Okay, and this also without the override, there is a provision to put BP also, and then by using a default you can go beyond SP and BP also, but the first preferred thing will be SP automatically. Okay, so you have to calculate the offset 3640 into 10 plus 1735. Okay, here also you need to be careful with your hexadecimal this thing addition. Okay. Now by now you know that okay, the code segment, in the code segment we write the codes, the data segment we write all the data. Stack segment, I am just giving a example. We have not yet learned the theory about it or the moment about it, just to you might be curious to know what is stack segment. So I am just giving one small example out here. Okay, you have suppose you have a data even in the calculator you have that option, right? M plus MR, where in memory you put temporarily you want to put some data into the memory and then do some other calculation and fetch back the data from memory. So similarly we have this command of push. Okay, generally what happens is the stack pointer is on the top of the stack segment. Okay, it is not at the bottom. It will not keep increasing. It is on the topmost address. So whenever we give the push address, okay, it will push these data like 6A and this data, whatever is BX, it is pushed into 2 consecutive memories. When I write a command and a pop, it will come back. Okay, so temporarily these stack registers are used to store data temporarily by using this push and pop command. Suppose you want to interchange the order of these data into registers, so in 2 memories you can do a push command and pop command, so it will go first in and first out. Okay, so that way, first in and last out, it will work that way, right? So whatever goes in goes below, and then again you write on top of it, and then you take it out. So this counter also, SP will also keep moving, increasing. In fact, here it decreases automatically with each data. You keep pushing data, it will keep decreasing automatically. This push and pop commands, you can push in data and take out data. Also, when we learn about interrupts, we will see there are a lot of interrupt commands. Okay, there will be many input output devices like your mouse, keyboards, and when the microprocessor might be running some program in the background. So whenever we do some interrupt command, or then what happens is, whatever is the data stored in the flags, in the accumulator, and also in the IP also, because some other program was running, so we need it is been interrupted, so that wherever it would pause the program which was being run. So all those data, it will automatically put it in the stack register, and then whenever we return back, when that interrupt service is executed, now it will go back to the original program which it was being executed. So it will pull back all those data from the stack segment again in that order, back into the carry flag. So that is where the stack segment is used. Okay, so these things we will learn in our theory. So I just thought I will share this little information with you, so that you have a rough idea of what stack segment is all about. Okay. So let's take one more problem. Here we have the value of DS register is 30, and BX registers contains a 16-bit value which is equal to 3032, and this is added to BX, and then we are going to do a move operation within square bracket BX. Okay, so the first one is adding 3032 with 008. So once we do that, you get 303A. Okay, because this is hexadecimal addition. Okay, next, whenever it is a square bracket, it means it specifies the memory location. The offset is given by BX. Okay, whenever there is a square bracket. Okay, so now the offset is given by BX, which is 10H. So 303A. And whereas DS is 3032, which we multiply it by 10, and then we add the offset out here, right? So we get this. This is the physical address which is generated, right? Then there is one more question. You are provided with the following values: DS, IP, BP, and SP. Can you calculate the effective address of the memory location as per the DS register? We know that it cannot be done, okay, because DS doesn't work with IP, BP. This is IP is for CS register, whereas BP and SP is for the stack segment. So you cannot calculate the memory location unless and until we give an instruction of stack override command. Okay, if we give stack override command, then we can use this. Okay, so it cannot be done. So that's the solution. Okay, so the next problem out here. Here is the 16-bit numbers are stored in memory location A, B, and C. Write and assembly language program for adding the 3 numbers in CISC and RISC processor. Okay, and then we need to store the result into D. Okay, and then assume that the processors have 2 storage registers and RISC has 8 storage registers. Okay, so we need to add ABC and put the result in D, right? So in CISC we know that these kind of commands are permitted, where we don't have to operation between memory cells and registers is permitted. So we can do that between 2 registers also, 2 memory also. Here if you see A, B, C are memory. Okay, here in this particular exam, don't get confused with ABC, the internal registers. Okay, so this ABC means it's an external memory location it is given. Okay, these are not the ABC are not the internal registers of the processors. Okay, these are the address lines through which we will have to access these in address lines. Now in CISC we know that we can do register and memory addition. It's not a problem, and memory addition is also possible. So in AB, you add AB, put it into R1, and then again the result can go back into a memory in CISC. All this is possible, right? Add, this is again the memory location, and R1 and C. So within 2 steps you can finish off writing your program. Whereas in RISC you can't do arithmetic operations. You can only move the data from the memory to the internal registers, but you cannot do arithmetic operations between memory and registers in RISC. So all arithmetic operations will be done within register to register only in RISC. So you have so first you need to move this data into R1, B into R2, C into R3. Then you add R1, R2. So the result gets amended in R1. This the sum is available in R1. Now you R1 and R2, again the sum gets amended in R1. Now you can push out that R1 to D. So in RISC the instruction would be like this. Okay, so in like I said in the theory class, this is what most of our mobiles use, and this is the CISC architecture is used most by the computers. Okay, these are a complex set of instructions, so the programming is easy. Here it is very fast because it is simple architecture. It is faster, but it has got a limitation. You can't write very complex programs. But since in mobile we don't really target complex operations, it's simple operations. So this is most suited for portable devices, whereas this is for high computation devices. CISC architecture is used. Okay, so this is, I think this is the last. Here the starting address of various segments is given. What is the corresponding ending address? Okay, so if such question is given in your exam, so don't think too much. Okay, just add FFFF to each one of them. Okay, so if it is CS is 00, you write FFFF. Right, it is true for CS, whereas for DS 3000 FFFF, but you can go beyond this also, like I said, because we have seen instruction. We will see how the instructions are written. It is possible to increase the offset beyond 64 also, right? So, but if it is not specified, this could be the answer. If it's in a multiple choice, if this is the answer, you can tick. Otherwise practically you can go beyond this. Okay, so this is the extra segment also you add, and this is the stack segment also. You keep adding FFFF, so you get the answer. Okay, only thing you need to be careful with all these kind of problems is these are remember it is hexadecimal addition. So don't just make a mistake of doing it in the binary way. Like if you add an B and F, you get an A out here, and one carry goes there, so A becomes B. So you just have to be careful with these small things. Okay, so that's over. In the next tutorial, I'll introduce you to first some of those instruction sets which we are doing in the class. So we'll do 2 or 3 more examples so that we are clear about how to write an opcode, and also we will start with small programming in 8086. Okay. So 3 or 4 problems we will do in 8086 writing an ALPs. So once we start doing that, then slowly you will get an idea how to write programs in 8086. Okay. So that's all for today. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. No, then we'll end it here.